and this will be a starting point for the plunging of Egypt into a civil war, into a deep crisis, and which consequences is, especially at this moment, is not possible to forecast what will be the consequences, what will be the amount of and the bloodshed and this and that. But so I see problems, no doubt, the kinds of problem which and the kind of conflicts, but
how the government handles them, and
yes, this will determine its future course of action.
All right, Mr. Jacob, how do you look at the role of the army, because so far they have played a neutral role?
They have reasons to play a neutral role. If you look at what Morsi has done in last 1 year, public scrutiny. So what else an army want at this stage in time? I don't think they don't want anything more. So army's roles are also changing all over the world. If you look at the last 10 years history of Pakistan, as long as Pakistan army gets what it wants, they have some pet subjects, they don't intervene in a civilian government. That's how things are changing all over the world, I think, in all these kind of situations. So unless institution in the history of Egypt, because they have the wherewithal, they have the organization capacity, they have the money power, they have the support from Americans, so they have all sorts of things to be shown as a credible institution which can fill in a vacuum in case Morsi goes or the country descends into a greater level of chaos. That is what I see about the Egyptian army at present. But at the same time, we shouldn't forget, if Morsi is not reaching out to the people, at least now, at the opposition, now things will go far worse from now. I think he should have heeded to opposition voice much before. Now what is happening, opposition is what? Opposition is the street protesters. So that is not good for any fledgling democracy or a growing democracy. Opposition should also be sort of a set of people who have leaders or political parties, things like that. You can't negotiate with 13 million people or 10 million people out on the street on a daily basis. That is not good for any growing democracy. I think Morsi should learn the right lesson from that.
But you know, he has now offered to form a committee to propose amendments to the constitution. Do you see him taking a more conciliatory position now?
I think there are indications. I think he has already indicated.
But I do hope, on the basis of my knowledge and on the basis of my analysis, that such kind of situation will not come, because Egyptian society is a highly pluralistic society. They will not allow to such kind of situation to arise. And army is also not will not intervene on its own. Army is not have unfettered liberty and the legal power behind it to interfere. So I see problems, no doubt, the kinds of problem which and the kind of conflicts, but
how the government handles them, and
yes, this will determine its future course of action.
All right, Mr. Jacob, how do you look at the role of the army, because so far they have played a neutral role?
They have reasons to play a neutral role. If you look at what Morsi has done in last 1 year, he has conceded enough ground to the army. Like he has legalized the military tribunals in the case of civilians as well. So whatever army does in terms of its budgetary allocation, etc., are above public scrutiny. So what else an army want at this stage in time? I don't think they don't want anything more. So army's roles are also changing all over the world. If you look at the last 10 years history of Pakistan, as long as Pakistan army gets what it wants, they have some pet subjects, they don't intervene in a civilian government. That's how things are changing all over the world, I think, in all these kind of situations. So unless situation descends into a major chaos and calls for another institution to come into play, then only I think army will take a larger role. Don't forget, all said and done, still army remains democracy even in Egypt. So I think he has a valid point there. But he has also making the right kind of noises and right kind of steps, at least it seems so. But also, for example, if you look at America has a considerable influence over Egypt, and Americans seem to be happy with what Morsi is doing. And also Americans will also be happy with what Morsi is doing, provided Morsi gets the support of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, two of the key allies of the United States in the region. I think Morsi is right on all these tracks. So despite this huge protest, I think his situation seems stable unless situation in Egypt deteriorates into further chaos. I think for the time being, Morsi is on the right track.
Okay, Dr. Zakir Hussain, how do you look at
Morsi steps down? This is there is a stalemate between the two forces. Somewhere we need a broker or a mediator who can start negotiating between the two forces. I think Egypt is the second largest economy in the region, largest populated country in the region, and
Right.
its messages goes to, because from Tahrir Square the wave of Arab Arab democracy has moved across the region, and now time for Morsi is to make Islam compatible with democracy. This is a very crucial point. I was hoping that when he was passing the constitution, that he will be able to give a model constitution to the world, but
Right.
at that time he missed the chance. Now again he is going to give a constitution which will not be favorable to the different section of the population.
Right. Segment of the show.
Arab nationalism, we also find that Egypt played a key role and is still in a position to play a key role, because from Tahrir Square the wave of Arab democracy has moved across the region, and now time for Morsi is to make Islam compatible with democracy. This is a very crucial point. I was hoping that when he was passing the constitution, that he will be able to give a model constitution to the world, but
Right.
at that time he missed the chance. Now again he is going to give a constitution which will not be favorable to the different section of the population in the country, but even in the world. Again I am
Okay,
telling you-
that's a
yeah.
very interesting point you raise. I'll
Yeah.
come back to it in just a bit. We have to take a break in the program. Stay with us. We'll be back with the final segment of the show. We are discussing the situation in Egypt. Professor Zohrab, I'd like you to comment on the point Dr. Zakir Hussain made earlier in the program. Balancing Egypt's democratic aspirations with the ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood. That's going to be the key challenge before Mohamed Morsi now.
Yeah, definitely. He's right, 100% right, that not only Egypt, entire Muslim, between Islam, democracy and minorities' rights, between Islam, democracy and gender questions. These are three sensitive issues, and they are struggling with these questions. They are fighting. I mean, they are striving to look for solutions. These are the pressing questions before them. The Egyptian constitutions, newly drafted constitutions, now there are two kind of clashing perspectives. According to the Egyptian minorities community, especially the Coptic Christians, they are having a lot of grievances that some of our rights and some of our concerns had not been properly addressed by the constitutions. But whereas the government is concerned, they are having a different kind of view. They are saying that we have very judiciously and democratically addressed their questions. But I would like to add few sentences here. There is a history in Arab world that the minorities, they have been given a proper name, that is called dhimmi. It means the protected minority. It is the duty of a state. It is the duty of a state, whether it is Islamic state or simply that the minorities, they have been given a proper name, that is called dhimmi. It means the protected minority. It is the duty of a state. It is the duty of a state, whether it is Islamic state or simply, and it is history that's testimony to this fact, how far they have been, successful. They have been successful in implementing these provisions, and because of these provisions, the minorities in Middle Eastern countries, they do have grievances, but at the same time, they have also a very good history of this cannot be done. This kind of sensitive questions cannot be solved in such a chaotic situation and manner.
Okay.
It needs stability, it needs peace, it needs dialogue, it needs consultations, it needs compromise. And for this, the Morsis primarily of thinking that they will not intervene in the process on their own will, but they will also not allow themselves to look at a bystander and see the situation as it is degenerating day by day. So therefore, they will appropriate some kind of mediatory role on themselves, and they will try to bring these two conflicting parts. Military will not allow to degenerate Egypt, to go Egypt, to enter Egypt into the tunnel of into the dark tunnel of conflict. It means the Egyptian army is thinking over to play any kind of mediatory role political role, what be incorporated in the political process, and army will also allow to play its role, and an inclusive political democratic process will again take place.
Mr. Jacob, do you think now, are you optimistic that Egypt is well on its way or on the path to democracy now? Because the whole of last 1 year of Mr. Morsi's rule has been full of turmoil, tensions, protests, etc. For instance, in November when he took on the judiciary, there was similar. You all here. That's it. Of Insight. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Shoots of Muslim Brotherhood are in the opposition forces, and they are in the position to form the government. If government here in Egypt, which is a poster child of democracy in the Arab world, it fails, it will have a massive cascading effect, not in the Arab world but also in the other Muslim countries as well. So I feel that Morsi should have a dialogue with the opposition parties. It is very essential at this juncture. Second, the opposition should also understand the delicacies of the political process in the country, that within 1 year everything cannot be achieved. Opposition was thinking, particularly those who voted for Morsi, that it will come with a magic wand and remove all the problems. It is not like that, because Egypt as a country has not endowed with resources unlike other Arab oil-rich countries. It is an agrarian economy based on tourism, where more than 12% of the GDP is contributed by tourism, and the Suez Canal and remittances. These are the 3-4 areas from where Egypt can get money to start the economic construction of the country and fulfill the aspiration of the citizen. On the other hand, Morsi has also tried to get loan from the outside world bodies, IMF, and also help from Arab countries. And second, that he took a sort of independent multi-spectrum diplomacy by visiting to China and Russia, and there he put the economic cause as a prime one.
Right.
He signed 3 agreements with China, and China agricultural development is one of them. And with India, he also signed 6 agreements.
He also wants to join the BRICS grouping of emerging
BRICS
economies.
grouping also visited to India when he was more interested.
Absolutely. On that note, it's time for me to wrap up the discussion here. I'd like to thank all my guests for coming to the studios. It was a pleasure having you all here. That's it for now in this edition of Insight. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.